Hello, we're going to pack 8 stories into this, the second week of December. The first one, developer Terra-Gen and construction company Mortensen announced they'll break ground on a huge solar and storage project in Kern County, California. This thing's going to have 1,118 megawatts of solar and 2,165 megawatt hours of storage, making it the largest such project to date. Mortensen's an EPC that's no infant in this game. They've been doing this for a while. This is their 78th solar project, 11th storage project, and they've been doing wind for a long, long time. Offshore Germany, Ørsted and Amazon just inked a 250 megawatt 10-year power purchase agreement for the planned 900 megawatt Borkum Riffgrund 3 offshore wind project. This is the largest ever for an offshore wind deal in Europe. It's also Ørsted's second PPA with Amazon, the first one being onshore wind in Texas in 2016. There may be more offshore wind about to come in Germany. Its new offshore wind law will come into force this week, and it's upping Germany's total target to 20 gigawatts by the end of this decade and 40 gigawatts by 2040. Critically, the new law also provides for interconnections with the power grid. In this country, New York State's pension fund says, "We see which way the wind is blowing." The state comptroller last week said that the $226 billion asset fund will shift away from many of its fossil fuel stocks, selling those by 2025 and selling shares in other companies that contribute to global warming by 2040. That means somebody else is buying them, but it will help starve the carbon beast. It's already divested in 22 coal companies last year, and the fund had resisted a sell-off for some time, focusing on safeguarding the pensions for its $1.1 million state and municipal workers. Belatedly, the comptroller recognized that a move away from hydrocarbons is safeguarding those funds and stated, quote, "Investing for the low-carbon future is essential to protecting the fund's long-term value." About time, but better late than never. Up north, Hydro-Quebec heralded construction of a 90-megawatt electrolyzer facility, converting hydropower from the north into green hydrogen and oxygen. The project will supply 11,100 metric tons of H2 and 88,000 metric tons of oxygen per year to the Recyclage Carbone Varenne project, which will be converting non-recyclable waste into biofuels, providing an alternative to landfills up there. Meanwhile, out in the western part of this country, Google/Alphabet-backed Sidewalk Infrastructure Partners announced a $100 million investment to support the build-out of the largest virtual power plant, probably in the world at this point in time. SIP invested $20 million directly in networking and virtual power plant company OhmConnect, another $80 million in the project itself, which is going to be called Resi Station. It's intended to create a 550 megawatt virtual power plant, networking hundreds of thousands of devices in California homes. That's going to be harder than it appears, and a very aggressive goal. Some of the largest demand response companies are a couple thousand megawatts, 2, 3, 4,000 megawatts. So 550 megs is a pretty big deal. It'll be well worth paying attention to see how quickly they can roll this project out and some of the challenges they run into, among other things, coordinating between the distribution utility and the grid operator, CAISO. Meanwhile, also in California, the California Energy Commission approved a plan to invest up to $115 million to boost the number of hydrogen fueling stations meant for cars, trucks, and buses. The idea is to build up to 111 new stations by 2027, which means fewer hydrocarbons consumed in the future. Oh, and speaking of future hydrocarbons, you might recall recently I talked about GM telling its Cadillac dealers to get on board with EVs or jump ship. Well, of the 880 dealers that had the option to leave and stop supporting EVs, with buyouts as high as $500,000, about 150 of those said, nope, we're not going to deal with electric vehicles. I might have some buggy whips to sell them. That's all for this week. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.